Have you ever felt the kind of betrayal that doesn't just knock the wind out of you, but rewrites your entire history in one sickening instant? I'm not talking about catching your partner texting someone or finding a receipt for a hotel. No, I'm talking about opening a book written by the woman you loved, and realizing every chapter, every paragraph, was a confession of how she had been betraying you for years. And the kicker, she didn't just confess privately, she published it, put it out in the world, branded it as some healing memoir, some journey of empowerment, while what it really was, for me, was the destruction of the life I thought we'd built together. I'll never forget the day I first held the book in my hands. A co-worker actually gave it to me. He walked up grinning and said, "Hey man, this new memoir's blowing up. Your wife's name's the same as the author's. You think it's her?" He handed me this glossy paperback with a cover that looked like something you'd see on a self-help table at the bookstore. Soft watercolor pastels, a feather quill, the title scrawled in looping script about healing and rebirth. I laughed. I actually laughed when I saw her name on it. "Yeah, right," I said. "She hates journaling. She can barely remember to text me back." But then I looked closer. The author photo on the back was her, my wife, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, staring back at me, smiling that same smile she used to disarm me when she was late, when she forgot anniversaries, when she seemed distant. Except now, that smile was frozen on glossy paper, attached to words I hadn't read yet, but already dreaded. I remember my hands shaking as I flipped through it. My co-worker was still talking, but I couldn't hear him. All I saw were words leaping out from the pages. The first time I cheated, the thrill of sneaking away. He never knew. My vision tunneled. My ears rang. It was like the world blurred around me, and all I could see was her handwriting. Not in ink, but in print, published for strangers to consume. When I got home, I locked myself in my office and read the whole thing, cover to cover, and let me tell you, it was like dying 1,000 little deaths. She had written everything. The first affair, with a co-worker I had actually invited over for dinner once, the weekend yoga retreat, that was actually a trip to the coast with some guy she met online, the late nights at work, that were actually hotel rooms downtown. Every excuse she had ever given me, every time I swallowed my suspicions and told myself I was just being insecure, was laid out in detail for the world to read. And not just the facts. No, she wrote about the emotions, the passion, the thrill of betrayal like it was some grand adventure. And the whole time she painted me as the backdrop. "My husband never noticed," she wrote. "My husband was so trusting, so oblivious. The world was reading about me, the fool in the story, the blind man, who couldn't see what was right in front of him." I can't describe the cocktail of rage and humiliation that boiled in me as I read. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had monetized the betrayal, turned it into content, into a product. People were praising her for her bravery, her vulnerability, her honesty. They didn't know that every word of her honesty was built on years of lying to me. When she came home that night, she found me sitting in the kitchen with the book on the table between us. I didn't scream. I didn't throw it at her. I just tapped the cover and asked, "So this is what healing looks like to you?" Her face drained. She hadn't expected me to find it so soon. Maybe she thought I'd never read it. Maybe she thought I'd hear about it later, after she had already basked in the glow of applause. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then finally said, "It's not about you, not about me." She said that, as if I wasn't the husband she'd been betraying in every chapter, as if I wasn't the ghost haunting the margins of every page. Not about me. I leaned back in my chair, stared at her, and felt something inside me harden. Because at that moment, I realized I wasn't just betrayed, I was erased, reduced to a character in her narrative, the clueless husband, who made her affairs exciting. She had stolen not just my trust, but my dignity, my story. And yet I didn't scream. I didn't throw her out that night. I just sat there silent. While she tried to explain, she talked about how writing it had been therapeutic, how she wanted to help other women, how she thought sharing her journey could inspire healing. And the more she spoke, the clearer it became. This wasn't about healing. This was about ego, about her need to be seen, to be applauded, even if it meant cutting me open in public. But here's the thing about silence. It gives you time to plan. And in that silence, I knew one thing for certain. If she thought she could make me a character in her story, she hadn't seen what I could do when I started writing my own. That was the beginning of the unraveling. Not just hers, but mine too. Because once you read in black and white, every betrayal you've ever doubted but never proved, you can't unsee it, you can't unknow it. Every smile, every kiss, every I love you gets rewritten in your memory with a footnote. This was a lie. And that night, as I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully, I decided something. She wanted an audience. She was going to get one, but not the one she imagined. Because her story wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep that night, not a wink. I just lay there, eyes fixed on the ceiling, the book still open on the nightstand, like it was daring me to turn one more page and swallow another shard of glass. She slept soundly beside me, breathing evenly, like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in our lives, and then rolled over to dream about her applause. And that was the part that broke me the most. Not the affairs themselves, not even the public humiliation, but the way she could rest so easily while my entire world was catching fire. By morning I wasn't shaking anymore. I was calm. Too calm. It was the kind of calm soldiers talk about when the bullets are flying past your head and everything slows down, when fear is gone and all that's left is precision. I knew I couldn't shout, couldn't beg, couldn't break down. She'd already cast me as the weak, oblivious husband in her story. I wasn't about to play the role she wrote for me. She padded into the kitchen, hair a mess, yawning. She saw me sitting at the table with the book still there, my coffee untouched, and froze. She tried to smile, tried to act casual, but her eyes flicked nervously to the page. She asked if I'd finished it. I didn't answer. I just slid my phone across the table to her. On the screen was a draft of a social media post. My wife's healing memoir is a confession of years of affairs. I am the husband she describes as clueless. I am not clueless anymore. Her face went white. She sputtered, tried to reach for the phone, but I pulled it back. Relax, I said evenly. I haven't posted it yet. She begged me not to go public. Said it would ruin her, ruin the book's success, ruin her reputation. And all I could think was, ruin her. She'd ruined me. In print, in bookstores, on talk shows where she was already scheduled to appear. She wanted to be the face of healing, but healing doesn't come from setting your partner on fire to keep strangers warm. That day I made a decision. I wasn't going to scream or tear her down in one explosive moment. No, I was going to let her book unravel itself. I was going to let her drown in her own words. And so, I played along. I went with her to the book launch. Imagine that me, standing there while she read passages aloud to a room full of strangers, nodding and clapping like she was some prophet of vulnerability. She even read a section about one of her most daring affairs, how the risk of being caught made it intoxicating. The crowd ate it up. No one noticed me in the corner, jaw tight, nails digging into my palms. But here's what she didn't count on. I recorded the whole event, her voice, her face, her words. And later, when she went on local radio to talk about radical honesty, I clipped her reading side by side with passages from her own book and sent them anonymously to a few outlets. It didn't take long. Within days, her carefully curated image of bravery began to crack. Because once the initial glow faded, people started asking questions. Who was the husband? How did he feel about being made a fool? And when my quiet little post finally went live, when I shared screenshots of her words, side by side with photos of us smiling at anniversaries she wrote about betraying, that was the end. The sympathy shifted overnight. She wasn't the heroine of healing anymore. She was the villain of exploitation. Readers who had praised her turned on her, angry that she had built her story on my humiliation without my consent. Critics tore apart the book, calling it self-indulgent betrayal disguised as empowerment. The publisher pulled interviews. Bookstores quietly shuffled it off the front tables. And me, for the first time, I felt like I wasn't drowning anymore. But it didn't stop there. See, betrayal has layers, and once you peel one back, you find others underneath. As the noise grew, people started reaching out to me. Not just strangers online, but some of the very men she had written about. Men who realized they weren't as anonymous as they thought. Angry wives, girlfriends, families. Suddenly her healing memoir wasn't just about us. It was about all of them. The lawsuits started. Privacy violation, defamation claims. She tried to spin it, of course. Tried to say it was all artistic interpretation. But her own diary entries, scanned and published almost word for word, made that lie collapse. One night she broke down in front of me, sobbing. begging me to stand by her, to help her weather the storm. "We can fix this," she said, clinging to my arm like a drowning person. And I looked her straight in the eye and said, "There is no we. Not anymore." She left a week later, suitcase in hand, her world crumbling. The woman who had stood on stages and signed copies for adoring fans was suddenly a pariah, her book pulled from shelves, her name trending for all the wrong reasons. And me, I rebuilt, slowly, painfully, but I rebuilt. I learned to live without the weight of her lies pressing on my chest. I learned that silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, that you don't always need to set the world on fire to watch someone burn. Sometimes you just let them light the match themselves. Do I regret it? Not at all, because she wanted the world to read her story, and now they have, just not the way she imagined. And if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's this: betrayal doesn't define you. How you respond does. She wrote her memoir thinking it would heal her, but in the end it healed me, because it showed me the truth. And once you've seen the truth in ink, black and white, there's no going back to grey. So yeah, her diary detailed every affair, but what she didn't realize was that my silence was writing a story of its own. And when I finally spoke, my ending was stronger than anything she could ever publish.